Okay. I'm afraid to move anything else.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I think it's okay. Is this
I think
on?
it's okay. Yeah, that's on. These are on. These are on. Okay, everything is on.
Cool.
Hello.
Nice. You need to move it, really?
Yeah. Oh. Hi, everybody. We're just getting set up. Just giving it a couple minutes so that a couple more people can join us. Hope everybody's doing well. It's morning in Bali. You might hear a couple roosters in the background. It's all a part of it.
Good morning, everyone. Or evening. Hello. So just while we're waiting, should we talk about what we're talking about today?
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about Candida, and we'll just go into how to recognize it, how to avoid it, and how to treat it.
Yeah.
And we'll probably just wait another 1 or 2 moments and get into it.
Yeah. It's crazy. I did a post on Candida last week, and the response that I got to that post of people that are living with Candida and struggling with a lot of the symptoms that come along with it, I was just blown away.
Totally.
It's super common.
Yeah. There was a lot of interest.
Yeah.
A lot of people interested in today's live.
Yeah. Just gonna try to switch my internet connection. Just giving it a few more minutes. What is this? I don't know.
What time is it?
It's about 8.
Should we start?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to our Yoni Talks.
Mm-hmm.
We do this once a week where we get together, the two of us, to talk about how nutrition and wellness impacts the health of our yonis. And it influences it too, because it does.
Yeah, there's so many topics to cover, so each week we're like, what are we going to talk about next? But if you have anything in particular you want us to talk about, you can send us a DM and we can cover it the next week or whenever we can. So do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah. So this week we're talking about Candida because I personally have lived with Candida, and that was one of my requests, was that we talk about it as soon as possible because it is a hot topic. And so I'm the Yoni nutritionist, and actually living my experience with Candida, living with it and then eliminating it is the reason why I became a nutritionist. So I am a certified holistic nutritionist or certified nutritional practitioner, and this is one of my main passions and one of my main focuses, to help women overcome Candida, because it really is diet. And it's really everything, all about what we put into our mouths. We are what we eat. So that's how I can help.
Oh, wonderful. My name is Krista Marie Alexi, and I'm a sexologist and women's wisdom teacher. Teacher. An Aussie one.
It's funny because we've been practicing
each other's accents. So
sorry.
So I've had a cold, so just bear with me for this live. So the way we're structuring the talk today is we're going to talk a little bit about what Candida actually is, and then I'm going to share a little bit on ways that I've worked with treating it, and then Adrienne's going to go into nutritional, how you can really solve the issue in itself with diet. So yeah, I guess my experience and the way that I've worked with Candida is more of the looking after it once it's already occurred and maybe trying to prevent it in certain ways, whereas Adrienne really knows how to go deep into the topic and actually heal it and prevent it from a really holistic way and empowering way. So Candida is often known as, Candida in and of itself it's not a bad thing. It's in our body naturally. It's in our throat. It's in our large intestine, and it's inside our inside the vagina, so inside the yoni. And it's only a problem when there's an overgrowth. What's it? The candidiasis. That's the term, and it's also known as a yeast infection. So it's a yeast-like fungus that lives in our body, and it's a good thing. However, because there's so much dis-ease in our health and a lack of understanding of our bodies, this is one of the things that can come about through poor diet and poor health and poor yoni health. So for me, working with Candida, when I've had Candida before, the ways that I've treated it and the ways that I've kind of made sure I've avoided it are pretty simple. I make sure that that when I'm wiping my yoni, I wipe from the front to the back, because the Candida lives inside the bowel, and it can easily be transmitted from the anus into the yoni. And so that being said, it's also possible with like hygiene products, so like menstrual pads, reusable pads. It's really important to make sure that we're washing those properly and putting them in the sun and killing that bacteria and the fungus. And I'll leave diet stuff to Adrienne. Something that I've used to treat it that's been amazing is apple cider vinegar. So putting apple cider vinegar in the bath, or making a douche out of it, which is like when you use like an enema kit kind of thing and place a hose inside the yoni and wash it out. But this is something that you only really want to do, you don't want to do it very often, and with really diluted apple cider vinegar. It is transmissible sexually, so it can live underneath the foreskin if you're having heterosexual sex. It can live underneath the foreskin, so men with a foreskin are more likely to give it to you or give it back to you once you've treated it than men who haven't got a foreskin. So it's kind of like, it can become the smegma, so like the build-up of cells and sweat, also under the clitoral hood and underneath the foreskin. And so you want to, if you're treating yourself, you want to do effective partner treatment, so it's not going backwards and forwards, because that's really frustrating. And it's the same thing in my experience. I've had a lover, I remember once he was really struggling with having, like, it was super itchy, and he was just pouring vinegar on his penis, and it was like burning, but he didn't care. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's one way to go about it. So yeah, the signs and symptoms are, it's like the itchiness is one thing that's for me, and it's kind of like, because it's in that erogenous zone, sometimes it can feel really lovely scratching it. But it's also, there can be like a scent, inflammation and pain as well, and a discharge, kind of like cottage cheese discharge. So that's something to look out for when you're feeling any kind of imbalance. So the pH of the yoni is, it's naturally out of 4, so it's quite acidic. So the yoni is a self-cleaning organ. You don't need to use any soaps, you don't need to use the scents, sprays or anything on your yoni. She smells amazing if she's healthy. And so you can pretty much just use water on the vulva and underneath the clitoral hood to wash away smegma, sometimes a bit of aloe vera or something like that, but if the pH is out, then you can use apple cider vinegar. When we start using soaps, we strip away the natural bacteria and it goes out of balance, and then it becomes a cycle where it's like, oh, my Yoni smells, I better use soap, but my Yoni smells, I better use soap, and actually the soap is causing the problem. Also, because the Yoni is at pH of 4 and semen is at a much more alkaline pH, when there's ejaculate inside us, it can also change the pH level. So it's really important to try and pee afterwards and get it out as quickly as possible, so it doesn't imbalance the pH. What else? I try to wear undies the least amount as possible, or if I wear them, I use cotton underwear. And if you're wearing a bikini, trying to use it only when you need to. Sometimes it's really easy to just pop your shorts on over the top and then go about your day after the beach or whenever it is, with the bikini on, and that's in there trying to breathe. Exactly. So we don't need to wear underwear to bed. So that's one awesome way that you can let her breathe.
Let her breathe.
For real. So they're I guess the main kind of things that I would use and avoid, and
Can I add to that?
Yes.
I would just be super careful about wearing a wet bathing suit and sitting in a wet bathing suit for a long time. A lot of us will go swimming and then we'll be lying in the sun afterwards or whatever. But it's really important, if you're prone to yeast infections, to not wear a wet bathing suit or stay in a wet bathing suit. If you can, try to bring another change of bathing suit with you and change it. I also really like to use, the roosters are really loud, sorry, so I'll try to talk over them. I also really like to use tea tree oil. My Yoni loves tea tree oil, and I'll just put a couple of drops on a cotton pad and just wipe my Yoni with tea tree oil, and it can be very strong, so sometimes you have to dilute it with another carrier oil, like coconut oil. But my Yoni loves the tea tree oil just alone, and it feels really refreshing, and it helps too if you notice a bit of a strong odor, to just refresh your Yoni.
Also clove. So there's an oil in Young Living and in doTERRA that it's like a combination, and it has, I'm not sure it has tea tree, but it definitely has clove, because clove is antifungal, so it's amazing for clearing that out and making douches with. And you can also put a tampon in clove diluted or apple cider vinegar or tea tree, and then pop the tampon inside. And also being mindful with wearing jeans and things
tight
that aren't breathing, clothes that aren't breathing. But the thing is, when you're experiencing itchiness or a candida overgrowth in your yoni, it's pretty much the last point of candida overgrowth. It's now you're seeing what's happening inside your body, but it's not the first sign of a candida overgrowth, which is why what Adrienne does is so important, because it's actually going into the gut health and understanding where the root is of the issue. The yoni side of things is the very end of the issue. You've got to go way back into the gut health and what's going on here, which you'll be able to go into in depth. I think that's everything from me. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So now that we know what Candida is, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with it, my story with Candida, and how I overcame it. And I'll give a couple of recommendations on what to do diet-wise and self-care-wise. So I struggled with Candida when I was going through an extreme period of stress in my personal life. And I really, really struggled with it. I suddenly started to get breakouts on my face, cystic acne, all on my forehead. It was really crazy. It was so bad to the point where I was even embarrassed to go out in public because it was so bad. I love popping pimples, that was fun, but it got really, really bad. So that was that. And I've always been susceptible to yeast infections. Um, but I was getting yeast infections once a month regularly for a couple of months. And it was really frustrating because I really try to avoid taking medication, and I would always have to get the medication for it to treat it because nothing else would treat it. It wasn't strong enough. And I was getting sick, and I was having a really hard time getting rid or healing from being sick. So my immune system was really weak, and I experienced something called brain fog, and it was so weird because I was like, what is happening to me? Like, I couldn't remember things that happened yesterday. I was tired all the time. I felt like I was drunk, and it was just the weirdest feeling, and I didn't know what it was. And my work started to suffer, my personal life, my relationships were suffering because I just couldn't. It really impacted my mental health as well. And I was going to doctors, and at the time I lived in Switzerland, and you know, the healthcare is like top notch in Switzerland, but nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. They're like, oh, here's a prescription, just take this and it'll go away. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong with me. Like, this isn't normal. This keeps happening. What is going on? Nobody could tell me what it was. So finally, when I got back to Canada after all of this, I moved back to Canada from Switzerland, and I walked into a health food store, and I'm like, here are all my symptoms. Tell me what to do. I'll do it. I'll do anything. Like, I can't take this anymore because it was taking over my life, and it was really, really uncomfortable. And so she's like, oh, from the sounds of it, you have Candida, and you just have to eliminate all these things from your diet and take all these supplements. Do it for a couple months and you'll be fine. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Sorry? Like, I spent so much money and so much time at doctors trying to figure out what was going on with me. And so that was it. I mean, I was ready for a change at that point because I was desperate to do anything to heal this, because it was really, again, causing me a lot of discomfort. So I did it. I did the Candida diet just for 1 month, but it worked. It worked. And it made me realize, like, wow, you really are what you eat. Like, everything that you put into your mouth affects what's going on in your gut, which therefore affects the health of our yonis. So that's why diet is super important when it comes to Candida. Super, super important. So I did it for a month and it worked. I still get the odd yeast infection because I'm prone to them, but it's definitely not as bad. So some of the things that contribute to a Candida overgrowth is I was on long-term birth control use. So I took the birth control pill for 15 years. So that's one of the causes of Candida. It really messed up my gut health. I also, when I was a kid, I used to get strep throat a lot and throat infections. So I was on a lot of antibiotics, a lot. So that, as we all know, antibiotics also messes with your gut health. And just general overall diet. Before I became a nutritionist, I thought I was eating healthy, but I wasn't. I was eating a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrates. I like to drink the odd time, but I was drinking a lot more than I should. So that all of that was impacting me. And at the time I lived in Switzerland. So like I was eating bread, cheese, chocolate, drinking beer, all of that, you name it. Everything with yeast in it, I was consuming. So what I did was I eliminated all of those things. I did it cold turkey because I was desperate to change. So I eliminated all of those things from my diet. I eliminated sugar, dairy, and gluten. So those are the 3 inflammatory foods that really cause issues in our guts. So I eliminated all of those things, and I followed the Candida diet, which includes it's pretty difficult and it's really boring. But like I said, I was desperate. I would have done anything to do it. So it consisted of lean meats, lean sources of meat like chicken and beef, as long as they were organic and consciously raised without hormones or any of that sort of thing in them, as well as good fats, so avocado, coconut. Coconut is amazing for Candida because it's a natural antifungal and antibacterial, so that was really good for me. and greens. So it was lean meats, greens, and fats is essentially the diet that I followed. No fruit, no sugar of any kind, nothing processed, everything was natural. No grains, no carbohydrates, no potatoes, no rice, no lentils, no beans, nothing, because all of that eventually turns into sugar, and that's what the candida feeds off of. The candida feeds off of sugar. So I had to go cold turkey on everything and also eliminate caffeine and alcohol from my diet as well. So it was pretty hardcore. When you do that kind of a drastic change, I went through a period of die-off. So what happens is the bacteria start dying because you're not feeding it anymore, which then creates toxins in your body and makes your symptoms worse for about a week. So I experienced this crazy die-off. I was in bed for like a week. I was taking these supplements to also kill the bacteria and the fungus. So it was, for me, it was super intense. But after that, it kind of went like this, and then it crashed, and then it started going up. My health started getting better. And after that, I felt amazing. And I lost a ton of weight just by changing my diet. So, I could go on about this. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, so if you are experiencing any kind of candida, or you have the symptoms as I described, like I had, if you are prone to recurring yeast infections, you want to do these things. Eliminate sugar from your diet. Sugar is, as I say this on every live call, it is the worst thing that we can put into our bodies. Sugar is also in fruit, and because it's fruit, a lot of people say to me, but it's healthy sugar. No, sugar is sugar. It does the same thing in the body at the end of the day. Fruit is a different story because it includes fiber, so it gets processed in the body a bit differently, but it's still sugar. Like, I eliminated all fruit from my diet when I did the Candida cleanse because sugar is what feeds the bacteria. Dairy is also an inflammatory food, also contains lactose, which is sugar. And gluten. Gluten is another inflammatory food which really messes with our gut, especially when you're sensitive to it. So those are the main things that you want to start weaning off or start eliminating from your diet. Some people have a really hard time going cold turkey, and some people feel more comfortable with just making small tweaks to their diet. Start eliminating slowly over time, and that's totally okay. Just be super mindful of sugar, dairy, and gluten. Another thing to include in your diet is probiotics. Probiotics help with the gut bacteria and replenish the gut bacteria once they start dying off. And start eating probiotic foods like sauerkraut and kimchi. Those are fermented foods. But stay away from any kind of fermented foods like kombucha. Like, everyone says, oh, kombucha is so healthy. Kombucha is made from sugar. So if you are prone to yeast infections or candida, you don't want to consume any of that, even if it is healthy. A lot of our diets and food trends these days are healthy, but if it has a lot of sugar in it, it's not. You just have to be really mindful of that. I feel like I've gotten off on a bit of a tangent here. So sugar, dairy, gluten.
Yep, so that's what you don't want to have.
Avoid at all costs, if you can. Eliminate any processed foods from your diet, and start including more whole foods, good quality meats, good fats. Kombucha is what I was saying. Good fats, and really try to start lowering your sugar intake, and be super mindful and pay attention to the labels on the foods that you're buying, how much sugar is in those foods. There are so many other things that I could talk about, but in the interest of time, I just wanted to share those main points. if you are suffering with candida or recurring yeast infections, again, super important to avoid the sugar, avoid dairy and gluten. And if you're interested in learning more about what you can do diet-wise, I'm going to be sharing a lot more information on candida on my Instagram page, and I'm going to be writing a blog about it that will give you more details. But I also work with people one-on-one to help them and coach them and walk them through this diet, because it is a lifestyle change and it is difficult. But if you are ready to make a change in your diet, in your lifestyle, if you are experiencing these symptoms and are just fed up, just let me know, because I can help you. I've done it and it's worked. I can't even believe, like, it worked. And it's the reason why I became a nutritionist. It's the reason why I went back to school for it, because it's just absolutely, for me, it's fascinating. It's something I'm super passionate about, and it works. But you have to be ready to do the work, because it is difficult and it is a commitment, but I'm here to help you through it. So if you are ready for a change, let me know and I can help you.
Yeah, that's amazing that you offer that, because sugar is super addictive, and so like with any habits that we're trying to change, seeking external support is sometimes one of the only ways we can really get through breaking these really bad habits. But also the fact that you've got this knowledge that can really help guide people into their health, and it's so amazing that you offer this, and I feel like it's something that's going to change a lot of women's lives. So thank you. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm happy to help. If I can help people heal their yonis, that makes me happy. Who doesn't want a healthy yoni? It benefits all of us.
There's also something that I forgot to say about things that can cause candida overgrowth, and another thing is spermicide. So again, going back to anything that we're putting inside our yoni can really affect the pH. So you want to be careful with what you're putting inside too.
Yeah. From the yoni and from your mouth.
Yeah, totally.
It's all connected. That's what I always say. Like, it's all connected. Everything that you put into your mouth, literally, like, pun intended, but it really impacts the health of your gut, which therefore impacts the health of our yonis. So
yeah,
gut health is super important.
And if you feel like that this has been a problem for you, or you're not sure, it's super common. It's something like 70 to 75% of women have experienced it at least once in their life. So the chances are that you have experienced it, or if something's going on in your yoni, that's what it could be.